Fam, thank you for choosing to watch this episode of Mind the Mic podcast. Before we get into it, though, I need you to hit subscribe. And not just me, the whole Mind the Mic podcast family needs you to. Maddie, Uncle Pete, Stu, Leka, and of course myself, Shubz, and anybody else that's on board by the time you watch this video, we need you to hit subscribe. If it's your first time here, I understand if you're a bit reserved and you're like, I don't know, watch the video and after subscribe if you want to. But if you're here and you're watching all the time, subscribe. It's not that hard. All you got to do is, if you're watching on your TV, you're like, I can't subscribe, I don't have an account. You have a phone, don't you? I know you have a phone in your hand right now. Grab the phone, create a YouTube account. It takes a couple minutes, and then you can subscribe. And when you do that too, hit the notification bell so you can get notified every time we put up a new episode. I asked this of you because we put in so much time. We've done hundreds of episodes. We plan on doing thousands more with as many amazing people as we can. But we need you to subscribe, fam. Big love to everybody that's been watching. Big love to everybody that's been supporting and anybody that's just arrived. I hope you enjoy the journey, enjoy the episode, and subscribe. Hey, welcome back to another Mind the Mic podcast. I'm your host, Shubz, here with a special guest that I've watched since I was a little kid, known as a veteran broadcaster these days. You might remember him from Pūkana, even the morning show, and I think he's done some stints like Homai Te Pakipaki and a few other things, even the national broadcast of Matariki. I think he was amongst that too. Matai Rangi Smith, tēnā koe hoa, kei te pēhea.
Tēnā rā atu koe Shubz, ngā mihi o te wā kia koe. Kei te orara wā atu. As you can see, I'm here in my humble abode at Turanga FM, where I broadcast my breakfast show from 6 till 10 in the morning, every weekday morning. But it's nice to be with you, bro. I hope things are all well in Ahitereiria, Mr. Mozzie. You know, you're a Mozzie now, so...
Yeah, definitely been a Mozzie for a long time, cuz, and I'm proud because if you look in my bio, it says Maori blood, but Anzac heart. You know what I mean? Because this rohe has given us a lot, and always home is always home. Yeah, but
they say that's the land of the milk and honey. Milk and honey.
Yeah, but you got a bit of milk and honey over there yourself, Makai. So can't complain. I guess for anybody that doesn't know who you are and outside of the what we just spoke of, can you give us a little synopsis on yourself?
Kia ora e te whānau. So I'm Matai Smith, born and raised here in Turanganui-a-Kiwa, the 06 Gizzy. So I went to Kaiti Primary School. I'm Kaiti hard. So for those of you that are not familiar with Kaiti, sorry, did you say the hood?
I say up the hill.
Oh, okay, yeah, up the hill, not the hood. Some people refer to it as the hood. But I was raised in Kaiti by my parents, my younger brother Hakim, just two of us in my immediate whānau. My mum was working at Waddies, so we had whenever there were staff sales for dented cans, so they were $1 a can. So we had spaghetti, we had baked beans, we had sweet corn, we had everything coming out of our eyeballs because mum would go to those sales and buy all those dented cans. I mean, it was only $1 back in the day. This is the 80s. I'm an 80s kid. Yep. And so, you look at those cans now and they're like $5. Yeah. And
are they $5 now, cuz?
Oh, kei taua takiwa, bro.
Yeah.
Inflation. This is back in the 80s. Dad was a fisherman. So he worked at the fisheries here in Gizzy, so there was fresh fish on our table most nights. He was a diver as well, so there was kina and all those delicacies that you can't get in Australia, bro. We had that for breakfast, lunch, and tea here. I was raised and educated here in Turanganui-a-Kiwa, went to Ilminster Intermediate, Lytton High School, and then after Lytton High School, I had an opportunity to go to Te Whare Wānanga or Waikato. I had scholarships coming out of my eyeballs, everyone saying, here's a scholarship, go to uni, further your education. So I pretty much had my university all paid for, but then an opportunity popped up out of the blue. I was in the National Manu Kōrero speech competition. I don't know if you can remember that, bro, while you were here. Mm-hmm. Yep. So, that competition's been running for over 50 plus years. And I was I was going to say contestant. No, I was the representative for Lytton High School in 1995 in the senior English korimako section, which was held in Aotearoa Square up in Tāmaki Makaurau that year. And through my impersonation of Sir Timothy Karetu, let's just say that that impersonation, I call it a mihi. Some people call it impersonation. I say it was a mihi to him. And then one of his former students, whom many of your viewers and listeners might know, Dame Hinewehi Mohi. She was a former student of Timoti. She watched me that day and she thought, oh my God, ko wai tēnei tangata me tana maia ki te whakatoi a tā Timoti kāretu. So unbeknown to me, bro, unbeknown to me, I got back to Lytton High School here in Gizzy, and she'd been speaking i te kōrero ai ki taku tumuaki. And she was saying, hey, I saw Matai Smith do his speech at Ngā Manu Kōrero. What does he want to do? What are his aspirations and goals? And ka mea atu taku tumuaki, oh, he wants to get into television. Well, Hinewehi at that time was the producer of a show called Marae, which airs on TV1 here in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And so he was like, I want that boy. I want him to come to Marae. So I remember it, bro. I got a letter in the classroom. You know, I mean, you've probably had a few letters in the classroom saying,
oh, heaps. Too many.
Yeah. Come and see the principal immediately. That was koera te ahu o te kōrero, te wairu o te kōrero.
Had you got that before?
Hey, never. He anahira hau, bro. Anahira. We'll just leave that there. Anyway, so I wandered over to the office and they said, oh, ring this number 09539, whatever the number was. And I ring it and then I go, oh, ko Hinewehi Mohi. So ke mohi mai rā koutou, at the time I didn't actually know who Hinewehi Mohi was.
Yeah, understandable.
I mean, everyone knows who she is now. She's a dame for, you know, what she did, the stance that she took at Twickenham back in 1999 and the anthem Ki Te Reo Māori Anake. Yeah. So anyway, so I ring her and I go, oh, kia ora, it's Matai Smith. Can I speak to Hinewehi Mohi? And she's going, that's me, darling. How are you? And I was like, oh, I'm good. And anyway, we had a conversation. She said to me, I saw you at Ngā Manu Kōrero. I want you to come up to Marae for an interview, have a look around the building at TVNZ. And bro, the rest is history. Basically, I was offered a role as a reporter, researcher at Marae in 1996. And I stayed at Marae for 3 years, bro. And that was an opportunity for me to really hone in on some of the foundation skills for being a presenter and a reporter and a director with the camera. So I'm really, really grateful, eternally grateful to Hinewehi, because without the opportunity she afforded me, you know, back in 1995, I certainly wouldn't have achieved anything, you know, in the broadcasting industry that I've done over the past close to 30 years, 28 years next year.
How did you go in that Ngā Manu Kōrero?
Well, actually, interesting story. I placed second in the prepared section. I got 100 out of 100, 100 out of 100, and 100 out of 100. But because I went over time, I got deducted some marks, which meant I got slipped down to runner-up.
Oh, so you would have probably got the dub if you didn't go
I would have got the dub. But in the impromptu section, te wāhanga o te kōrero tēne, I wini au te trophy rā. So I came through the impromptu section. And that is the section where I did a mihi to Sir Timoti Kāretu. And that's the speech that I think resonated with Hinewehi Mohi at the time.
Ko ai tērā tangata?
Ko tā Timoti Kāretu tētahi mātanga ruanuku o te reo. So for those of you not familiar with Sir Timoti Kāretu, he's just a Google search away, but he is a man that, well, some people refer to him as te taniwha o te reo. He is, well, let's just say he has high standards when it comes to our language. And I am blessed and privileged to have spent time with Sir Timoti over the years. I mean, obviously, after my Ngā Manu Kōrero stint, some years later, I first met Timoti. He was a guest on Marae, so I was a little bit terrified because I was like, oh, I wonder if he knew that I, you know, did an impersonation of him. Well, he knew. Tēnā koe, morena. And then some years later, when I was presenting at Pūkana, myself and another one of the presenters, Reikura Kahi, she was Reikura Morgan back then, we got invited to Te Panekiretanga o Te Reo. So that is the Institute of Excellence for Māori Language. So I think it was time for me to a little bit of payback for Tā Timoti. Ha mātai, hara mai. Yep. Come to my classes and I'll fix you up. And I'll tell you what, looking back at that particular time where we spent a good year and a half with Tā Timoti, as well as Professor Wharehuia Milroy and also Professor Dr. Pou Temara, I mean, these three names, they just, they are mātanga, they are experts, they are tohunga when it comes to te reo and tikanga. So I was very, very blessed to spend the time that I did with them. And some of the learnings that I took from te panekiretanga o te reo have certainly held me in my own iwi back here in Turanga, and certainly travels throughout Aotearoa and across the globe.
What would you say is your biggest takeaway from that experience with them, those three?
I would say that it kind of, ko taku reo Māori, taku reo tuarua. Okay, so I'm a bilingual. Yeah. Ka reo I tipu aki te reo. So nōku I konei, I kurai nau ki kai ti. So I missed that whole movement of kohanga reo and kura kaupapa Māori. I was kind of just before it came. So yeah, I was gutted that I wasn't in that generation that were fortunate enough to get kohanga reo and kura kaupapa. So the thing that I took away from te panekiretanga was it really did open my eyes and my mind to te tirohanga o te ao Māori. So, looking at our world, te ao Māori from a Māori kind, through a Māori lens, a reo nei, a tikanga nei. And so when you have people like Tā Timoti, Pou Te Mara, and the late Wharehuia Milroy as your mentors, as your experts, as your kaiako, as your, one of the things I love about it is that their teachings were done with love. And so you basically took those teachings, took what you needed to from those teachings, and you had the opportunity to bring the aspects of those teachings back into your own iwi for the betterment of our own iwi. I would say that probably one of the things I got out of panekiretanga was the fear of whai kōrero. So people will see me in front of the microphones, see me emceeing a lot of hui around the motu, and they'll think, oh, geez, he ngā wari noho kia mātai te tū ki moi te aroaro o te iwi, ki reira kauhau ai, ki reira whakangahau ai. But when it comes to whai kōrero, bro, I'm one of those ones that kind of, ka tino hopo aroto nei. So I'm not really into the whai kōrero as much. And so it gave me an opportunity to step outside. I puta atu au I taku wāhi hānea nea. It took me out of my comfort zone. Right. And I was able to kind of give it my best shot when it came to whai kōrero. Don't get me wrong. I don't say that I'm a whai kōrero expert today. I still kind of, when I go to the Marae, my cousins are there. I'm like, oh yeah, ko koe te tuakana. And they're like, hey, pakaki ake koe ia. No, no. There are some people that are whai kōrero. Oku whakaaro,
for that, eh?
They just have the gift of the gab when it comes to whai kōrero and the way that they speak with such eloquence and also being able to kind of whai kōrero is quite a e hara I te kōrero noiho, eh? It's not something
just an art form. You got to work it.
It's an absolute art form, and there are those that can do it and there are those that can't. And there are those like me that try and give it my best shot. There are times where I've kua karawhiua au ki te muro o te ahi, ki tōku ake marae, ki he ke rānei. So you can imagine when I go to hui and everyone's, oh, yeah, tukuna kia mātai.
Of course.
And as I say, yeah. There are times where I kind of just like, I don't know, I kind of freeze and I roll up into a raisin. It's probably the best analogy.
True. And is it only whai kōrero? Because like I said, as you said, 30 years in the game now, and like of talking on the bloody screen and thing, and still a little bit.
Bro, he rereke, kia nei he rereke te kōrero ōkawa, me tēnei mea te kōrero ōpaki. I can kōrero ōpaki till the cows come home. I can keep everyone entertained. I can, But when it comes to ōkawa, that is another. There's a certain standard, and there's a certain ethos, and there's a certain protocol around whai kōrero. And so, yeah, I know that through te panekiretanga, I was given the foundations of a whai kōrero, but that's not to say that, as I say, in hara tēnei te karo, I'm still not 150% the man when it comes to whai kōrero. And if I see other people that are better than me, ka tukuna kia rātou, because there are some of us that should sit down, but they do stand up. We won't mention any names. Here ngā hui kua tai atu au kua tūtū mai tētai me tana reo. Ko te tikanga o tēnei mea te whai kōrero, me whai take tō tū, me whai take tō kōrero. And we know, bro, I've been to several hui where it's like, oh, brother. What are you up to? Like atu kia noho mū koe, you know, silence is probably better for you. But anyway, tēnā. So yeah, Te Paniki Tango Te Reo, I was in the first intake back in 2004. Yeah, so we were kind of the guinea pigs. You know, ngā tāngata pēnei, Scotty Morrison, te kanohi me te reo, te karere.
Oh, he was in there too?
Yeah. He was in there too. Pānia Papa, Kingi Kiriona, Te Rita Pepesh, you know, all of these amazing mātanga reo were in my class, you know. So there were times where I was like, how te take ko tono au, anō nei ko au te tami o te kaihe o te akumanga nei. But, you know, as I look back to ki te mātai whakamurio, that was an experience and a privilege, an absolute privilege. I know it sounds cliche, it's an honor and a privilege, but it was a privilege to be amongst such esteemed kaumātua like Tā Timoti, Wharehui o Moroi, and Po Te Mara.
Yeah, no. So hey, even that old experience of, like, even though you didn't get the big dub because you went over time, like that's an example of like just being in the moment and, like, you know what I mean, like a sliding doors moment. Like if you never did that, you know, Hinewehi Mohi never sees you, do you end up where you are? You know what I mean? Do you end up doing what you do? I don't know.
Yeah.
You know,
well, the other thing, Shubz, the other thing about it is that you know, I had to pause because there was so much laughter and so much like reaction from the crowd. So really, it was the crowd that took up my time. So really, I should get those points that would.
Oh yeah. Oh, hey, there should be an investigation there. Let's go back.
You know, so
bring the video up, Gus.
Yeah, he wero tēnei ki ngā kaiwhakawā. You know, whakahokia mai wakupiro, give my points back, and then I can go and get the trophy of whoever won it that year, 1995. But
that's it.
Bueno, muri e hokia, what's done is done, bro. So, but as I say, I've been blessed that from that ngā Manu Kōrero experience, I then moved into broadcasting. And so this, bro, has been my world for the last almost 28 years. I've recently got into radio, but my background is television. So back in 1996, researcher, reporter for Marae.
What did that
so that kind of entailed that I was, you know, I was really the tono really, because I was the youngest. I was 18 years young when I first got into television. So I'm surrounded by all these, you know, older people than me, and they're like, oh, Matai, can you research this story? Oh, can you ring this person? Can you, you know, follow up this? And so that was me. And, you know, looking back at that, at the time, I was just like a sponge. I was like, yeah, I'll ring them. Yeah, I'll research this. And I got to my producer at the time, a man by the name of Derek Worcester. He saw some potential in me, and he goes, right, Momo o Pūkana ki roto I te tarine. So, you know, you're a waste of talent sitting in this office. We need to send you out and report some stories. And so I started getting into reporting. And going out with the cameraman. Initially, I had a director with me, so someone would come out and direct me and say, this is how you put a story together. And so I was able to soak up those skills. And then nā waira, after a little while, a couple of months, I was able to go out and film my own stories. And then from being a reporter, I moved into presenting. So Derek Worcester, our producer at the time, said, okay, I want all of you guys to have a turn at presenting live in studio on a Sunday morning. So Marae is on a Sunday morning, still on a Sunday morning at this time at 10:30. So that was an experience, bro, because the thing about live, just like our podcast, you won't be editing out any of the mistakes or grammatical errors that we've made. Otherwise, you'll be there for about half an hour.
Nah. I've done too many of these too, cuz, to do that. I've done like 200. This is like the 280th recording since January.
Well, bro, you don't want to lose the organic nature of the podcast. Yeah.
Run it up. Yeah. Should have just started recording when we got in there. They could see the whole thing.
Oh, no, we had a few technical issues. We won't put those in there. Speaking of technical, so going back to when I started presenting, so, you know, I remember walking into the Studio 4 at Television New Zealand, and just the bright lights, and then you've got the auto cue, you know, the teleprompter where you got to read the lines without looking like a possum in headlights, you know.
Oh, gee.
You know, and it's scrolling. So you
was it hard to develop that skill? Or
well, bro, so Nōku te whiwhi te Waimarie. So we had a day with a day's training of auto cue reading with, I don't know if you remember her, Judy Bailey. Judy Bailey is like, back in the day, she was reading One News for her and Richard Long. And so Judy Bailey came and took a session with us, all of us Marae presenters. And I'll tell you what, I've never been so terrified in my life. She was sitting like literally in the studio, and she would watch you read, the audio cue, and then she'd give you tips. And I was thinking to myself, so there was one point she sat like this close, and I thought to myself, heck, I hope there's no hoop at the end of my nose, because she might have to kind of, just kind of pick it and throw it on the ground. But honestly, I was so fortunate, because she was, she's A game. Like, she's like Mātanga Akine. She's like the goddess of reading the news. So I got my foundation skills of reading an auto cue from Judy Bailey. And so, as I say, 28 years later, I've done a whole heap of shows, and I'm able to read the auto cue without looking like a possum in headlights. So Marae was my first. I spent 3 years at Marae. The final year I got to present the show, it was in a shared role. And then really I kind of had my wings and was ready to fly. One of the things about Marae was it was a magazine show. It also had current affairs. It had light and fluffy stories. But one of the things I found was that I was still quite young, at the tender age of 21 when I left Marae. I still wanted to do some other things. And I had all these creative juices, but because I was kind of confined into the genre of magazine current affairs, I kind of got a little bit frustrated. So in 1999, there was a knock at the door, and they said to me, hey, Matai, there's a new show, a kids show, starting on TV4. It's called Tūmeke. Would you like to come and audition as one of the hosts? And I thought, well, I'm 21 years young. It sounds like, a kids show is something I'd always wanted to do, so I could act the goat and, he tangata ngahau aho. So people know me as being a little bit of an entertainer. And so 1999, I went over to Tūmeke to have an audition, sat down, spoke to the producer. You had to do this actually the producer's son, Tom, his name was. He was playing the Xbox. And so there was a little bit of banter between me and him, but I'm talking about Xbox. I mean, I had no idea what the Xbox was, just quietly. E haro I te gamer. I'm not like you. Had no idea.
Still?
Yeah. Well, I know what a gamer is now, with Fortnite and all that stuff that my nieces and nephews are into. But at that time in 1999, the dawning of the new millennium, before the year 2000, I was kind of like, oh, how tingo tēnei kemu, era momo patai. And I managed to kind of, what's the word, whakataruna, or pretend my way, through this audition process. Anone he mātanga gamer, I was trying to pretend that I was, up to play with whatever he was playing. Anyway, that aside, the rest is history. I managed to get a role as one of the original presenters on Pūkana. So if you think back, where were you when Pūkana started in 1999? Were you?
Yeah, I was. Where was I living then? Yeah, of course. Yeah. I think I was at Rākoimanga at the time.
Manga.
Yeah, this would have been when it started. Yeah.
Yeah, I love Huntly, because it's got a good KFC in Huntly when you're driving from Hamilton to Auckland. And then, of course...
I just went to school there, but I lived in Naris. I lived in Roy.
Oh, okay. Yeah, Naris. Okay, yep. Koro Neihana.
My nan was kopi in herself to death over there.
They still are today, Shubz. They still are today.
Yeah, my nan still is too.
Your dad is still too. Come by him.
No, my nan.
Oh, your nan. Okay.
Yeah, my nanny. No, my nanny. Yeah. So I think this is where I would have been. 1999. Eh? But obviously, you said was Tūmeke going to be the name? How did they?
So Tūmeke was the original name of Pūkana. Okay, so 1999, we went out on TV4. So in the mornings at about 8 o'clock, it came out of the test signals. So, I don't know who was up on Sunday mornings at 8 o'clock, but basically we came out of, and then it was the Tūmeke titles would come up. It was TV4, which only kind of went to 60% of the country at the time. So we knew we had a small audience already, but we had a loyal audience, because koe nei te hōtaka reo Māori anake. Mā te hunga tamariki, So it was all about the reo for all of our kids that were at kura kaupapa, at kohanga reo, ko te reo anake I whakapāhotia e mātou. So it was a big deal, because if you think back when I grew up in the 80s, I mean, there was only what now? and son of a gun with Jason Gunn. So all of a sudden, we now had this opportunity for our kids to see the reo, hear the reo in all situations. So we used to go for a bungee jump and taupo bungee. We used to jump out of the plane, ka rukurangi mai. So we did all of these activities just to show, hei whakaatu atu ki ngā tamariki me ngā kai mātakitaki, ka tae koe te whakamahi te reo aha kua kihea, aha kua āhea, aha kua pēhea. In all situations, we were able to speak the reo, not just in kura, not just at the marae, but as I say, in activities like bungee jumping, like what else did we do? Even in the kauta, we would cook in te reo, we would sing in te reo, and I think that was probably one thing that we became a little bit famous for, and that was taking the mickey out of famous songs.
Yeah, out of famous songs. Yeah.
Ko te ingo tērā wāhanga ko tīhohe. Ara ko te tīhohe ko te he momo katakata I giggle ne. Koe rei te paina I ko tīhohe. So probably one of the most famous songs that that came out of Pūkana was No reira Pūkana kana cha 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 Pūkana I te ata. So it's Venga Boys and Sha La 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 La. Well, of course, ka tahuri mātou ki te Whakamaori I taua waiata. Bro, and I'm kidding you not. People were ringing our office going, how do I get a copy of that song? Our kids love it. And then whenever we went to the events like, the Tāmaki Regional Kapahaka, it just so happened we'd have a CD in our, we'll go, oh, what are we going to do to fill time? Let's play Pūkana. And honestly, bro, I have vivid memories. Sorry, that's a text from somebody. I have vivid memories of stadiums, packed stadiums, the Aotearoa Centre where we did a Māori Expo one day. Everyone was up on their feet singing No reira Pūkana kana. Honestly, parents loved it. It was awesome.
Yeah. When did it change from Tūmeke to Pūkana? How long was it only?
I te taurua mano, bro. So 1999 was called Tūmeke. And then in 2000, we got approached by TV3. No. That ngangara got flipped away. I mean, I deal with ngangara. If you've seen a gizzy cockroach, bro, you will know that ngangara has got nothing on gizzy cockroaches. Just quietly, Gene goes, I'm flew into my house. If you're not familiar with a gizzy cockroach, I mean, you get cockroaches, you get flying ones in Australia. The gizzy ones, I'm kind of diverting our attention to this ngangara. You can get a whole can of fly spray at Gizzy to try and kill a gizzy cockroach. Oh, ware ake, bro. Ka pau ia koe te kēne katoa, you will spray the whole can, and that gizzy cockroach, kei te ore tonu, it still shakes after a can of raid or black flag.
Maybe that's an opportunity for our whānau out there, in Gizzy, if they want to make some fly spray, put a little combination together, they can put one together to knock them out.
Yeah, I think they're making other things in Gizzy, but we won't go there.
That's
another kaupapa. So me hoki kawa ki taku kaupapa. So yeah, Pūkana. So how did Pūkana get its name? So in 1999, we were Tūmeke, and then TV3 approached our producer and said, hey, how would you feel about coming to our channel? So, TV3 went nationwide, So you remember what I said earlier, 60% for TV4, TV3 nationwide. So we were like, oh, let's go. Yeah. But then TV3 said, Taihoa, we need to change the name. So ka noho mātou ki te wānanga, and I can officially tell you that it was Te Hamua Nikora who came up with the new name Pūkana. Yeah. And then we came up with the slogan Pūkana mai o whatu. Yeah, another coastie himself. Yep. Not kei te kororo kumaraho, but that's okay. And so Te Hamua came up with a new name and the new slogan, which was Pūkana mai o whatu titiro atu ki te rangi. So it was about opening your eyes and looking to the skies and, aiming for the stars and, aspirations and goals, etc., for our kids. And that, and then of course, apart from Pūkana mai o whatu titiro atu ki te rangi, we had Tahirua Toriwha Pūkana, and everyone was, everyone was doing Tahirua Toriwha Pūkana for years and years and years. In fact, Pūkana this year celebrates 25 years on air, bro. So, that's a round of applause. That legacy that we contributed to some 25 years ago is still continuing today.
Is Pūkana still on?
Still on, bro. Still going.
Wow.
Still going. So we had a bit of a reunion about, maybe it was 5 years ago. We did the 20-year anniversary, and we brought back all of, there's been so many people that have been through the Pūkana. What is it? studio, whare. And, you know, you think of Quinton Hitter, used to be on Shortland Street in my time back in the day.
We'll just be in particular.
Yeah, bro. And Shay Milne, you know, Shay Milne, who's now on Haka Yarns. We've got Te Rauhiringa Brown. We've got a whole heap of these amazing people that have been through Pūkana. And so I'm really, really quite humbled and proud by the fact that I was able to be a part of that, the original group back in 1999. And as I say, seeing this legacy continue today is really quite humbling. And then from Pūkana, because I know you're going to ask me, what did you do after Pūkana? Well, actually, I went over to Whakaata Māori. Yeah, I went over to Whakaata Māori and I was a program commissioner for a couple of years. And so, yeah, well, that's exactly, you took the words right out of my mouth, Shubz. So a program commissioner is quite a cool job, because basically, if you get a producer like Shubz and he says, bro, I got this mean idea. It's a sports show going live from Brisbane, and we're going to call all the Māori from Brisbane to Suncorp, and we're going to go live from one of the VIP lounges, and we're going to talk rugby league. And I'll go, that's a mean idea, bro. So basically, ka tukuna mai e koe tō tono, you'll send in your proposal, and it comes to me as one of the programs. There's about 3 or 4 of us. So we look at the ideas, the validity of the ideas, you know, whether or not it's kind of ticking the boxes in terms of real tikanga, you know, all of that kind of stuff. So I was a program commissioner for a couple of years at Whakaata Māori, but I was also, you know, here's the thing about being a little bit, you know, multi-talented, is that they were like, oh, bro, Matai, you might as well present this show, and can we get you to do this show? And of course, one of the shows that resonated with me, and again, I got to work with my kazi Te Hamua on it, was Homai Te Pakipaki, the Friday night karaoke show live from Whakaata Māori. That show, bro. We recently did a reunion show because it's 20 years of Whakaata Māori this year. And earlier this year, I went back to Pūkana. Yeah, I know. Time flies, bro? And
I just remember those ads. Remember that, like, they're like when they were building up to Whakaata Māori releasing, and you just like watch that little loop that they had going, the little waiata and all that.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, so the show, I mean, Homai Te Pakipaki was raw. It was what you see is what you get. So basically, out the front of Whakaata Māori on a Friday afternoon. So Whakaata Māori is right in at the time, was in Newmarket, based in Newmarket. And like the cars, the traffic on Friday afternoon in Auckland is just unreal. You know, I don't know what it's like in Perth, bro, but
pretty crazy out here, Marcus.
It is bumper to bumper on a Friday afternoon. So if you're driving from Kaitaia and you're thinking, I'm going to drive down to Homai Te Pakipaki, and then you park your van outside and all your whānau gets out, you know, and then you hear beep, 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 get out of the way. You know, that was kind of the behind the scenes of Homai Te Pakipaki, is that people would drive from Kaitaia, from Wellington, from Dannyverk, around the motu to try and win $1,000 cash on a Friday night just for singing a 3-minute song. And I think that was what contributed to the rawness, to the wairua of the show, is that, bro, and there were people that would turn up in their pajamas. I mean, if you go to Pack and Save Rotorua, notice I said Rotorua, I'm going to get all the hater right after this. I'll say Rotorua and Gizzy, because I do see it in Gizzy. I mean, people, they go shopping in their pajamas at like midday. And these people would turn up, and some people would refuse makeup. We had aunties in there going, oh, we're just going to, you know, you've made it through. You're going to be singing tonight on the show. We're just going to do a little bit of thing. I don't want that. What do you want? I don't wear makeup. And we're like, oh, auntie, but you know, no, I don't want it. I just want to get it. And we're like, come on, auntie, we can kind of, you know, straighten your hair and put some curls in it. I don't want them. Like, oh, bro. So that's what I mean. It was raw, it was organic, it was unedited, it was what you saw is what you got. Yeah. And there was that show, honestly, I mean, one of the most poignant moments for me from that show was Chad Chambers, who of course is a Kazi from the coast, Tokomaru Bay. He got into the grand final in 2011, and I remember me and Te Hamua were hosting, and we're backstage, and I was like, at the rehearsal, I was like, hey, this is wrong. they've got Chad Chambers singing Rod Stewart because, you know, the Kazi is known for his reggae vibes. And so I just immediately, po he katoa, kua he. I thought they got it wrong. I was like, no, he doesn't sing Rod Stewart. Who well, Motaku here. So then the Kazi steps onto the stage during the rehearsal. Well, I can tell by your eyes. And he starts doing his Chad. I did a terrible version just
yeah.
And we were like mesmerized.
That was
like,
Timu one, my brother.
Bro. So the night of the grand final at the Logan Campbell Centre, it was packed. Those grand finals were just as big as the State of Origin, bro.
Yeah?
Not bigger. The whole atmosphere, the stadium is packed at Logan Campbell. People have got placards. They have come to, you know, Paki 1, Paki 2, Paki 3. They're all there to scream their vocal support for their kaiwaiata. And so when Chad Chambers stepped out onto stage, and it's up on YouTube if you want to check it out, bro, his version of Rod Stewart just blew everyone out of the water. And of course, he was the winner in 2011. And the other thing was, of course, he wore his white freezing work gumboots. And he continues to do so. I emceed an event at the end of last year in Uawa, and Chad was performing, and it was like 30 plus degrees, and the Kazi was in his gumboots. And I was like, you don't want to swap those out for jandals? Or you call them thongs?
Yeah. Not me, Kati. Not me.
Yeah, so Shubz, Homai Te Pakipaki?
Yeah, Pakihaki.
No. Homai Te Pakipaki is a show that I hold dear to my heart because there were so many beautiful moments. Friday night live and seeing people, like, honestly, when I announced, and the winner is, you know, Mikaere, and I mean, they'd won $1,000. It was like they won the lotto. And there were some people, bro, and pono tēnei kōrero, pono marika, there were some people that drove with not enough petrol to get home. So they were reliant. Some of them were relying on winning that money in order to get home.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, as I say, Homai was just the most beautiful show to be a part of. Another poignant moment for me associated with that show was in 2012, I was named as a finalist in the Best Presenter for Entertainment Factual Shows in Aotearoa. New Zealand Television Awards are always a big, glitzy, glamorous night. And here I was announced as a finalist for Homai Te Pakipaki. So I rang my mum up when I found out, oh, mum, I'm a finalist in the television awards. Can you come with me? And like, mum's so humble. She's a real country bumpkin. She's a no frills, no fuss. Nah, I don't want to go to that. And I was, you know, I really had to kind of twist her arm to say, actually, you are coming with me, whether you like it or not. So I flew her up from Gizzy to Auckland. We had to go and get her a frock because, you know, Gizzy don't have many shops. We've got Just Jeans, Posty Plus, you know, Farmers. So I didn't want her wearing some kind of floral shirt from Farmers. I said, Mum, this is a night where we can kind of, you know, shout you a panekoti, maku e hoko.
Right.
But my mum, she's like, you know, I literally, and this is, she will watch this and go, yep, no, he's right. She does not like me spending money on her. Like, she'll check the price tag and go, oh, no, that's too dear. No, I don't want that. So I had to kind of, you know, be really strategic and go, oh, Mum, yeah, no, this shop Anna Stretton's got you a dress. You just have to come and try it on. They're going to sponsor it. I did a bit of a white lie. It was actually quite an expensive dress. But anyway, yeah. Now you know, Mum, if you're watching this podcast. And so we took Mum to this Anna Stretton where this dress was. And she was kind of like, you know, she's looking through these dresses. She, I don't know, I don't like that. And then I saw her and she goes, I go, do you like this one? And she goes, oh, it's all right. But I knew that was the one because I saw that she was kind of hanging around that one. So anyway, I bought the dress, purchased the dress, took her home, got her makeup done, got her hair done, made her look, you know, $1 million more than she already looked. And we went to the Langham. And all of Whakaata Māori were there. You know, the bro Julian Wilcox was up for Best Current Affairs presenter. A few other of my whānau from Whakaata Māori were up for awards. So it was a mean night. And then it was made even more meaner when the announcement from John Campbell was up on stage and he goes, and the winner is, it's Matai Smith. And I just remember like being frozen like Princess Elsa. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was my name. And everyone was just standing and applauding. Even those that weren't associated with Whakaata Māori, I think they were like, oh my gosh, good on you, Matai. And so I just grabbed my mum's hand. Remember, I'm still in shock. I just grabbed and I yanked her up on stage. She was coming with me. I wanted to, seize the moment and, make it a very special night for me and my mum. I pull her up onto stage, bro, and I'm doing my acceptance speech. And mum had purchased that day. She bought her these heels. And so, wahine mā, you will know where I'm going with the story, is that with shoes, particularly heels, they can get a bit sore after, a little while. So you see some wahine, they just kind of kick their heels off, especially at the Melbourne Cup, all those chicks that kind of throw their heels off. Anyway, mum decided during the night, she got a little bit hoha and got some sore feet. So she kicked her heels under the table. Well, unbeknown to me, I had yanked her and dragged her up on stage. She just had her stockings on. She didn't have her shoes on. So I looked down at it. I'm like, Mum! I didn't say it on stage. I was just kind of looked down. I was like, oh, tētahi wahine. But, seeing mum and being so proud of, her boy had just won an award, and it was worth the trip. It was worth the expense. It was worth the stress. It was worth the torture. It was worth the little white lie saying that Anna Stretton had sponsored your dress. But as I say, my association and my role as a presenter on Homai Te Pakipaki was acknowledged that night. And so, as I say, special place in my heart for that show. It's such an icon, a legend here in Te Ao Pāpāho. Everyone that hears Homai Te Pakipaki will conjure up images of sitting there on a Friday night at 8:30 watching all these, rough as a diamond. Rough as a diamond? Diamond in the rough. Sorry, there were a few diamonds in the rough, but there were a lot of rough.
Yeah. Can you remember of those diamonds in the rough? Is there anyone that sticks out to you other than, like, obviously Chad and all that? Is there anybody that comes to your mind when you think of some of the diamonds in the rough that may not get as much shine, but or even one? Is there any?
Bro, he pātai paite, I can just... Yeah, there are faces, but I don't remember the names.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm not talking about grand finalists. I'm talking about, like, in the preliminary round. Yeah, just so many characters, like the aunties that would refuse makeup and mascara and, and would refuse to put their teeth in.
Uncle likes it that way.
I don't want my teeth. Yeah. Yeah, so many names to remember during that show. And that's what I loved about that show, is that you would just uncover and there would be all of these kind of like undiscovered talent, diamonds in the rough. That's the only way I can describe it. So we had a special reunion a couple of months ago here in Aotearoa for Whakaata Māori's 20th birthday, and we were kind of trying to cross our fingers that maybe Homai Te Pakipaki might get a resurrection and might get another series, but we're still waiting for that phone call. Come on,
come on, Guzzies.
You
your initial role. You want to. Come on, Whānau. Your initial role there at Whakaata Māori. Can you remember a pitch at all that in your head is just like, what the heck?
Yeah, bro. So when I was a program commissioner at Whakaata Māori, we had a heap of new ideas coming through. Like there were proposals coming through the email. There were people that were dropping them off at Whakaata Māori saying, I've got a great idea. Here's a new sports show. Here's a new hunting show. Can I just talk about hunting? So are you a hunter-gatherer, bro?
I used to be as a child. I've done a little bit over here, but it's, not too much, But not too much.
You'll be hunting for snakes and crocodiles over there, wouldn't you?
You've done a few kangaroos as well.
Kangaroo as well.
Yeah, you can do
the
that.
Interesting thing, bro, the interesting thing when I was a program commissioner, because we'd get the ratings of what show rated the top rating that week. And between Homai Te Pakipaki, so there was Homai Te Pakipaki, which was, consistently rating high, but the other show was Hunting Aotearoa.
True.
I didn't realize how popular hunting was here in our country. So it wasn't just Māori viewers that were tuning into Hunting Aotearoa.
Definitely not.
Yeah, bro. So taku kuare, I was like, how many times do you want to watch someone, shoot a deer? Or a pig, or a wild pig. How many times? I mean, what do you get out of? We saw that last week. It's the same size pig. It's just that It's in Motueka, not in Ruatoria. Anyway, ko waia hau ki te whakawa.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
we're proud of
If you
hunting
know,
our
you
pig.
know, Marcus. If you know, you know.
And I don't know. Have I hunted a pig in my life? Never. I just go to the butchery in Kairi and pick up sausages. Anyway, I digress. So getting back to program commissioning, probably one of the shows I remember that I was really, really proud of being associated with was Songs from the Inside, a program called Songs from the Inside.
Oh, that was on. Yeah, I remember that one too.
Yeah, so the first series we had, I think it was, correct me if I'm wrong, Anika Moa, Scribe, Macy Nika, and Troy King. I think they went into the prisons. Yeah. And they went into the prisons to write songs with prisoners. So you can imagine the logistical and I suppose the legal ramifications of making a series. I mean, they basically had to get clearance because these people are inside for a reason. But we managed to, with the producer at the time, Matamina Roderick and Sunny Arahanga. Sunny played Nig in Once Warriors, by the way, if you are thinking, oh, I know that name. They managed to work their way through the legal, I wouldn't say red tape, but, they basically got the green light and they produced this. I remember flying down to Wellington because that's what you had to do as a program commissioner. So once you got the tick for that program, got it funded, you'd have to watch the rough cut. So they'd send you a rough edit of, this is episode 1. Can you give me your feedback, bro? I actually flew down to Wellington and sat in the room with Sunny and Matamina, and I was in tears, bro. It was just like, I mean, you could see the impact that having the likes of Macy Rika, Anika Moa, Scribe in with these prisoners.
Ruya was on that one too, eh? Ruya was on that one too, wasn't he?
Yeah, I think Ruya was on that one as well. Yeah, Ruya Pirahama. So seeing the impact it had, and this was just a rough cut. And I'm sitting there thinking, who am I to tell Matamina and Sunny Arahanga how to suck eggs? I mean, these are, well-established kind of program makers. And I was just basically, but I think what their appreciation for me was a set of new eyes because, it takes months to kind of put a show together, and sometimes you're sitting in that editing room and you're so close to the kaupapa that you do need a set of fresh eyes to have a look and say, oh, I don't know about this, or oh, that's beautiful, or maybe change this. And so that was my role as a program commissioner. And I'll just have to say, I didn't make any changes whatsoever.
Oh, true.
That particular episode. It was just like, it was gut wrenching. It was beautiful. It was so well done. And that was a series that rated well on Whakaata Māori because everyone was quite intrigued by the title, Songs from the Inside. Jail, you see. So that's probably...
I watched it from over here on the...
on demand. I think that's probably one of the pictures that that was probably most memorable. There were several others as well. So many hunting shows. I mean, how many ways can you catch a pig, bro? Straight up. And fishing shows, everyone wanted, tangaro with Pio. Pio's a bro, so big ups to Pio because he kind of that was probably one of the first fishing shows. And now we've just got, if you look back at Whakaata Māori over 20 years, so many fishing, so many hunting shows, but they still resonate with the viewers, as did Homai Te Pakipaki.
Pio, have you been another veteran broadcaster? Or Pio has been on the waves for a long time.
Yeah, he's been there a while. And still doing amazing mahi as well. So program commissioner, also presenting shows. If I can just kind of move us along to Te Matatini. So Te Matatini, I have now presented 5 national festivals, and my first one I did was in 2013 in Rotorua. And it was myself and Te Uira Paki. And bro, what a marathon. So basically, that was 4 days of preliminaries and then a finals on the 5th day. And honestly, like, we have to watch every cuppa because it's like the rugby. You got to commentate on, whether Bowden Barrett, deserved that try and, his technical skills. I mean, that was our role. That's our role as...
but that's only 2 hours or like, 1, 3 hours, all up probably half an hour before and after. You're talking days.
So, exactly, in Maunakwe. So when you're on air from 8:30 in the morning till 8:30 at night, basically, which means you have to get up at some ungodly hour of the morning to get in there and get made up and get dressed, and then you got to turn it on for the audience that's tuning in at home. And there is no, I mean, apart from the odd mimi break, we basically, bro, if there were 15 groups that day, we had to sit there and watch the 15 groups, take some notes, and then come back with some commentary, some feedback. Keep it positive, of course.
Yeah.
And I've had again, it's going to sound cliche, but I honestly, hand on heart, every time I present Matatini, I think this is an absolute privilege and honor to be able to sit there and guide and assist and enlighten viewers, not just haka nuts. With Te Matatini, you are preaching to the converted. You're going to get all the haka nuts tune in. But I think at the last particular festival, Te Matatini at Eden Park, when it went to TV2, TVNZ, the broadcast, we had a whole heap of, we had a new audience. We had people that were kind of channel flickers going, oh, chair, what's this? Oh, they probably didn't say chair. They probably said, hello. Oh, it's Maoris. And so, we had record numbers tuning in for that particular broadcast over the 5 days. So 4 days, sorry, 3 days of preliminaries and 1 day of finals. So yeah, as I say, Te Matatini is another kaupapa that is huge. It is the biggest, I'm going to say it, it's the biggest event on the Māori calendar. Everyone's got a whanaunga or a cousin or an uncle or mum and dad that takes to that stage. And, we just had the National Secondary Schools competition here in Nelson in the days just gone by. And honestly, some of those kids, kei taumata ki, I mean, they could go to Matatini tomorrow, some of those groups.
Do you have to watch, do you have to watch all of that too? Like, like if you're leading up to presenting Matatini or something like that?
I guess as a commentator, as a presenter, you really do need to keep up with the play, both at primary, secondary, and Te Matatini level. And that's so that you have a deeper and greater appreciation and understanding of that world, te ao haka. I'm lucky I was raised here in Gisborne. I've been a part of Waihere for many years. And then I went to my whānau out at Tūtamanua Mauria at Rongo Whakaata for a couple of years. So I already know that when I started presenting Te Matatini, not only did I have my experience as a kaihaka through those groups, but I had formed relationships with people. Many of my mates and cousins are in other groups, Te Wakahuia, Ngāti Rangi Wewehi, Te Rōpū Manutaki, and now these groups of today, Ngā Tūmanako, those are all my mates, we worked together many years ago in Auckland. So I have, fair to say, I think I can say to you, hand on heart, honestly, that I do have a good knowledge of te ao haka and how it rolls, but that's not to say that I, rest on my laurels. So, there's times where I do have to go and use the on demand and go and watch, kareoi mātakitaki te rōpū I toa I Te Puku o te ika. So Te Puku just won the secondary schools and I was doing the Matariki broadcast in Wanaka. So I didn't get a chance to watch many hakas, not many, if any. So I will take an opportunity to go back and watch those kapahaka that performed at Whakatua Nelson. But as I say, Matatini is just the vibe of Matatini during that week. I'm running on adrenaline. I'm absolutely running on adrenaline. I think I might have an apple and a muesli bar that day, but the rest of it is basically, and maybe a puru whero or a Red Bull, but the rest of it is the rest of it is adrenaline. It is just an absolute what's the word? It's a roller coaster. It's a roller coaster, bro. Ro naki haere, hiki heke, and getting to finals day when you got the top 12 and you've got, and that's the thing. I do my best. Actually, I'm pretty good at it. Mind you, Scotty and Steph and Kahurangi and Shay are pretty good at it. Because when you're a presenter or a reporter of Te Matatini, you do have to kind of not be one-eyed. You have to be.
Is that hard?
Oh, it's ua warawatu. But I'm one of those presenters that, if a group has grabbed my heart, has pulled at my heartstrings, and they're from Te Arawa or they're from Tāmaki Makaurau, I'm going to say it. Kia kaua e whakataruna. I'm not going to pretend and say, oh, they were, they're my.
They're right.
Yeah, they're right. The thing about it is that, I'm a very kind of, you can be the slickest group on stage. Everyone will go through the technicals and be 100% sharp. But for me, I'm a spirit person. I want you to grab me. I want that X factor, and I want you to pull me towards you and your kapas. And then I might, te rapia ka huroa. Huro! Huro.
Hey,
so Matatini, as I say, bro, is definitely a kaupapa dear to my heart as well.
If you were to describe Matatini to somebody, you know, on the other side of Te Ao, how would you describe it?
It is the Olympics of kapa haka. So it is Māori performing arts at its best. The creme de la creme of haka take to the stage. So we've got a record number of teams. I think it's 55. 55 teams are going to be performing at the Bowl of Brooklands in Taranaki come February next year. So if you are not familiar with kapa haka or te matatini, I dare say you need to get your, you know what, over here and go and watch this. I mean, there's one thing to watch it at home. That's the thing about it as well, bro. I get the best of both worlds because as a presenter, I sit close enough to the action so I can watch it live. But then also, I'm just reaching down, I also can put, well, I actually have an earpiece. And so I can hear the live sound through my earpiece as well as the live sound. So basically I can hear this ear is listening to the mix sound, the quality sound coming through the TV. And then I've got this ear that listens to the live sound. So as I say, I've got the best of both worlds, and what a privilege it is. But yeah, I mean, that's how I describe Te Matatini. I mean, it is kapa haka excellence. You know, you have to qualify in order to get to the national stage. And so all of those 55 groups have been through the process. They've been, you know, to their regionals. They've had untold live-ins. They're going to have untold wānanga live-ins in the lead up to February next year. They don't have a break over summer. Some of them have, you know, I mean, this is the thing. The thing about Matatini is that you don't win. It's not for the money. It's for the mana, you know. You know.
Yeah. There you go, around the world.
Have you ever done kapa haka, bro, at a national level?
Of course. Oh, nah. But yeah, hakas. Oh, of course, when I was a kid. But yeah, I left pretty early too, cause you know I left in like as the early teen. But so like I've been home plenty of times, but I never I've lived in Aussie since I was like 12, 13. Cause yeah.
Oh, bro, if you decide to come home on a couple of groups, I can get you in contact with Te Kahurangi, Te Paumanga Tāwhiri. There's a few there.
They want me, cuz. Yeah. But I'm a tutti. Yeah, got no ears. Hey, but then what? So you ended up on the morning show too, though, didn't you?
Yeah, so whilst I was working at Māori television, I got a text from a friend of mine, Fiona Kupinga, and she goes, "My friend, do you think you'll be able to come down to Wellington in a couple of weeks' time for Te Wiki o Te Reo Māori and be a kaiako on the Good Morning Show?" So the Good Morning Show is kind of like, I think you'd call it Sunrise.
Sunrise.
Over in, yeah, it's a little bit similar to Sunrise. Yeah, and the Today Show. Actually, it's more, actually, that's like a breakfast show. The Good Morning Show is a little bit like, oh, what's Larry's one over there? I used to watch it. Is it called Good Morning?
Oh,
the Morning Show.
No.
The Morning Show.
Him and like, with Kylie. Yeah.
Kylie and Larry, The Morning Show. It's called.
Yeah,
so Good Morning is like The Morning Show. So it was a 3-hour live show out of Avalon Studios in Wellington where we did interviews, we did cooking in the kitchen, we did exercise, a whole heap of stuff. And so I ended up going down there in 2007. I took the week off work at Whakaata Māori and went down to be the kaiako to teach the presenters. Tēnā koe means greetings to one, tēnā korua, greetings to two, tēnā koutou, three or more. You know, just basic te reo and understanding about, you know, aspects of our tikanga, what to do when you go on the marae, take your shoes off, all of that kind of thing. And, well, at the end of that week, the producer of the show, Sally Ann Kerr, came up to me and she said, "Matai, would you be interested in doing a weekly segment on Good Morning and teaching more te reo? Because we've had some really good feedback." And I was like, okay. So I went back to my powers that be at TVNZ, at Whakaata Māori, and said, this offer's been put on the table. And they said, oh, yeah, go for it. All good. And so, bro, the good thing about Good Morning was not only did I get an opportunity to teach te reo, but the producer then started putting me in other slots as well. Like I'd go and join the presenters and do the exercise. I'd join the presenters and go into the kitchen and help with the cooking, which was, you know, had its bonuses at the end. Yeah. So once we finished cooking everything and say hooray to everyone, we were like having a big ass munch. And then I became a stand-in presenter. Whenever one of the hosts was away, Good Morning would ring me and say, "Oh, Brendan's away next week," or, you know, not next week, in a couple of weeks, would you be able to fill in? So I became part and parcel of the Good Morning whānau. And the thing about Good Morning, as you remember from my earlier conversation, is that I got taught live studio presenting in my early days at Marae, Judy Bailey, all of that.
Judy, yep.
Yeah. And so some years later, this was an opportunity to get back into, live presenting. It is what it is. You make a mistake, you just fake it till you make it. And so Good Morning was, I think, probably one of the most memorable shows was when I got hypnotized, bro. If you go onto YouTube and you put Matai Smith hypnotized, you will see all of these highlights. Some of my mates still today, they will come and see me and go, bro, that hypnotism show was out the kitty. Were you acting? I said, bro, I was not acting. Do you think I would cry and have a big fat tonguey on national television just for the sake of a laugh? So I don't know. Have you ever been hypnotized before, bro?
Oh, we're talking about by the aunties or no, no, never.
It's an interesting thing. It's that because people say to me, "What's it like being hypnotized?" I says, "Well, you're taken into the room. The guy talks to you, and it's the power of suggestion. So there is a little bit of a thing that you go through, and then he lies you down, and then all of a sudden he goes sleep." And, I've watched it many times on TV. I was like, I'm going to try and fight it, bro. I tried to fight it, and as soon as he went sleep, I was out the monk. I mean, I was literally there, like I could still hear him, but I was like you.
But you couldn't open your eyes, isn't it? You're just gone.
Yeah, and then they say 1, 2, 3, wake up, and then he would suggest what to do. So one of the things he told us before we went on air was, you will not swear, you will not be naked at any time. So we're like, church. And that'll get the ratings up or down.
Get something else up too.
Yeah. Shubz. So, and the hypnotism show was a 3-hour show, bro. There was one time where I thought I'd won the lotto, and then I didn't, and I cried.
Oh, so it's a whole show where you're hypnotized there.
It's the whole show. Me and Jeanette, my co-host, we were both hypnotized for the duration of the show. And basically, bro, I came out of that when we were taken out of hypnosis. I was exhausted. I felt like I'd just done Iron Māori or a marathon. I literally got to Whakaata Māori. Bro, we had stopped. This show had stopped Whakaata Māori. Everyone at Whakaata Māori in the newsroom and other areas, they all had the TVs on, and it stopped the nation. I mean, people were in the dentist, at the doctors, absolutely in fits of laughter. I had so many people messaging me, go, "Are you all right?" There was like a gazillion messages on my phone. "Oh my God, you were hilarious. I hope you're okay." I got back to Whakaata Māori, and I had Homai Te Pakipaki that night. It was a Friday. And I went into one of the rooms, and I had to sleep for a couple of hours. I was so exhausted. But yeah, as I say, if you want to check out what I'm talking about, you just Google it, Matai Smith Hypnotism Show, and boom, Bob's your uncle.
Okay, check it
Peter
out.
Powers. I actually flew Peter Powers, the hypnotist, over from Brisbane. He came over from Australia.
Oh, yeah. Is he Aussie or is he from somewhere else?
He's Aussie. Yeah.
Oh,
he was Aussie. He's like, Matai, when you wake up. Oh, no, he was like, no, actually, I think he might have been British. He's like, when you wake up, Matai. Yeah, he's British.
Yeah, Matai. Yeah.
When you wake up, Matai. When you wake up, Matai, you're going to think you won the lotto. He was that guy.
Oh, that's pretty. That sounds pretty on. I don't know. I haven't even heard about it, but yeah, I reckon that's probably it. What about, so where you go from there? You end up on radio. How does this radio gig happen?
So, bro, I did a little stint for Whakaata Māori as the Australian correspondent. So I got to move over to the Gold Coast, and I was based in the Gold Coast, and I got to fly to Sydney to do stories. I got to fly to Perth to do stories. I got to fly to Townsville. Don't go to Townsville, bro.
I've been there, cuz I've been there.
Oh, bro. It was hot, yuck, and I had to go and interview Kalen Punga, and that was when Kalen
when he was young buck,
playing for the Cowboys at the time, and there was this article came out from Jonathan Thurston saying, no, he's going to be playing for Australia, mate. He's not playing for the Kiwis, mate. And so I was like, oh, I need to go and ask Kalen, are you going to go for the Kiwis or the Australian team? So I spent some time with his parents. We went to his house. And then he took us over to the Cowboys at the stadium in Townsville, and we had a sit-down interview. And basically, Kalen said, as much as I'd love to play for the Kiwis, I'm probably going to go for the Aussies.
But he just wanted to play Origin, though. Hey, that's why I think.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he was still in his infancy stage at that time. They were they could see the potential, but now he's just the man.
Now he's the man, and took Sean Johnson's Delium. Nah, too much. Shout out to Kalen. Yeah,
he's still one of them.
Yeah, so, but a Māori. That's our first Māori to get a Delium.
Yeah, mea ana koe. Yeah, so I did a little stint in Australia. Then I came home and booyah, you can see the sign at the back, Turanga FM 91.7, 95.7, 98.1. So I'm now the station manager and also the breakfast host with my co-host Rahia Timutumu, weekdays 6 a.m. till 10 a.m. Here in Gizzy. You know, bro, I came home just before COVID, and you know, I don't know
How
what
many
it was
years
like.
did you do over here, cuz?
Oh, I did 3 years over there as Australian correspondent. Yeah. You know, I love the lifestyle in the Gold Coast and Brisbane, but
Goldie.
you know, home is always home. And yeah, so I came home, I got shoulder tapped, said, Matai, you want to come and be station manager for 6 months? And then 6 months turned into, well, it's almost 6 years, just quietly. I've loved being home, bro. There's nothing like giving back to my people. And saying that, you know, there are times where I want to hide away from my people, but I couldn't hide during COVID. And so, yeah, Gizzy was it was an interesting place and space to be in during COVID. No one was in town during COVID. We were an essential worker as broadcasters. We had to come in, and this place was a ghost town, bro. You know, when we went into lockdown, Rahi and I would come in here and we'd be like, holy hicka. You know, people were full of angst, anxiety. People were depressed. They couldn't go out. You know, people were worried about how much toilet paper they had left and all of that stuff.
That's
you
a
know,
weird one, eh? The toilet paper.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
don't get me started. So we, during that very, very difficult time, I'm going to use the word difficult. It was difficult because it was so new to us, eh? And people were scared. And what is this thing called COVID? And when can I get a vaccine? And oh, there's no vaccine yet. Oh my gosh, you know, am I going to die? You know, there were all of these questions up in the air. So for us here at Turanga FM, we really had to filter. You can imagine we had messages coming from the Ministry of Health of New Zealand, Turanga, you know, Turanga Health. All of these institutions here in Gizzy were sending us, say this, say this, say this. So we had to filter it down for our people so that they could understand what COVID was, how you could best, you know, protect you and your whānau and just keep them updated. Because, you know, when we went into lockdown, bro, that was e kore warawari au. I will never, ever forget that because it was even going to Pack and Save and people were with masks on and, you know, you were only allowed X amount of items, 2 butter, or, you know, all of those things that you normally can just go and buy 10 of. All of a sudden, there were restrictions. And, yeah. Anyway, I'm really glad I was home. I think I would have struggled if I lived in the Gold Coast and, you know, the borders were closed.
Yeah, well, there's another thing too, because you know, it'd be hard to get in now.
Yeah. And I would have probably, you know, freaked out not being able to, because I'm, you know, I'm a mummy's boy and I miss my parents and my niece and nephew and, you know, all of the whānau back home. So being here during that time was, yeah, I'm really thankful I was here. And then, of course, after COVID, and we came out of COVID, we had Cyclone Gabrielle, bro.
Oh, yeah.
So during Cyclone Gabrielle, you know, we'd just got over COVID. And we're like, oh, yep, sweet. We're slowly getting ourselves back together. Mera wāke, you know, pakoru mai ana te ua. Me te marangai. So we had Cyclone Gabrielle and, of course, the devastation that it caused out at Tikaraka here and then along State Highway 35 and our coastie relations. It was just unreal. So unreal. This was pre-Matatini, by the way. You know, Eden Park, everyone, you know, was basically that week, everyone was trying to get out of Gizzy or get out of the coast to get up to Te Matatini. And again, one of the most challenging times I've ever experienced because our station here, I mean, we've got power at the moment. We had no power, we had no Wi-Fi, we had no cell phone coverage. There was no communication with the outside world. So it was freaky. It was probably more freaky than COVID because of that, the comms, the lack of comms. At least with COVID, we could, you know, have a Zoom with the whānau and, hey, fellas, all right, yeah, we're all good. Here during Gabrielle, nothing, zero. Everyone was worried. All my cousins, you know, once we got Wi-Fi, I had about a gazillion messages saying, hey, fellas, all right? Haven't heard from you. How's mum and dad? How's the whānau? So once we got in, because we didn't know what a Starlink was, bro. I mean, I spoke about gaming earlier. I mean, unbeknownst to me, one of my cousins in Manatuki, he's down at home playing his game.
Elon.
Yeah, playing his games. And yeah, once we knew what a Starlink was. So our station went off air for about 6 days, bro.
True.
6 days. Yeah, we had no power, no Wi-Fi, no backups. So we, you know, lesson learned. We'll never do that again. But again, it was just so frustrating. Just I had people kind of running up messages to read out on the radio, but we had no radio. Yeah. So anyway, tērā. As I say, kwa mautiro, we've got backup systems now, and not that I'm waiting for the next, cyclone, but we've just had recent rain this week. Another series of another weather event, and kanui tēnā tāwhiri mātia. We just recently celebrated Matariki, so when Hinewehi Rangi, the wishing star, shone upon us, I said, bro, well, not bro, sis. E te tuahine, me mutu te karawhiu, stop, tell tāwhiri mātia to stop sending us cyclones and weather events.
It wasn't just power though, eh? Was it also like running water or like clean water, or was it?
Okay, so I live out at Manutuka, which is about 13 kilometers south of Gisborne. I went to turn the tap on. I had no water, bro. No water, nothing coming out of the tap, no power, no Wi-Fi, nothing. So the power did eventually come back on, so that was something, but the water stopped. Yeah, because the water pipes, the main pipe up at Waingaki, not far from me, well, further up in the hills, actually broke. Homai Te Pakipaki. So so we had no water. So yeah, and that's a freaky thing when you go and turn you're so used to running water.
Used to it, eh? Yeah.
You go and turn the water on. So as I say, that was the week before I was heading up to Tamaki Makaurau to host Te Matatini. So I ended up flying up to Auckland a couple of days earlier so that I could have a wash in a motel. That's how desperate I was to get up to Tamaki Makaurau to Wi-Fi and power and running water.
No, that's it. Because before we get out of here, I've got a couple of quick questions, if that's okay.
That's all good, bro.
Matariki, can you explain Matariki to anybody that don't understand? There's even Maori that, even I talk to over here, they say, well, I've never heard of that before. You know what I mean? What is it?
Yeah, so I never grew up knowing about Matariki. It's funny, though, because we all grew up doing the haka ko te koko mai te koko mā ko te hau tapu e rite ki te kai nā Matariki. Tapa reireia. That's a haka here on Te Tai Rāwhiti. But I never really realized the significance of that haka until, recently. Matariki is a kaupapa that was, I'm going to say it, which was promoted, which was, he was at the forefront of bringing us a public holiday called Matariki, and that is my friend, Dr. Professor Rangi Mātamua. So 3 years ago, under the leadership of the then Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern and the Labour Party, he had been having some conversations and saying, look, we're celebrating Guy Fawkes, some guy that tried to blow up, Britain. Why don't we, as a nation, take hold of the kaupapa of Matariki? And of course, Dr. Rangi Mātamua has intrinsic mātauranga Māori. He's got all this knowledge that was handed down to him by his koroua. And so he was having conversations and saying, this is an opportunity for us to stop as a nation and unify. We're hearing all this thing about kotahitanga as a result of the latest, government here and the coalition government and all that they're trying to do in terms of repealing this and taking away this. And, we're not allowed to say waka kotahi, we've got to say the New Zealand Transport Agency. So all of this hard work that had been done by the previous government, this government at the moment is starting to repeal and take it away. So going back to Matariki though, Matariki is a kaupapa that obviously is to do with the star cluster, the 9 stars. Some in Te Tai Rāwhiti say 7, but we're going to go with the 9. And each star represents our connection to the environment, our connection to well-being. So, yeah, I think the best way to explain Matariki is the 3 R's. It's a time for us. So this year we celebrated it on Friday, and we don't follow the Gregorian calendar. It's to do with the moon phases. It's to do with the rising of the cluster at a particular time during winter. And those 9 stars, as I say, represent different things. Like Pohutakawa is the star that represents where we send our loved ones, those that have passed on, friends and whānau that we've lost over the year. I mean, we don't do that on the 31st of December. We're all yahooing going 10, 9, 8, and it's like, oh, Happy New Year. Cheers, cuz. I'm saying I've done that many times, and I'm sure you have too, Kazi. But Matariki for me has a hell of a lot more meaning. Has a hell of a lot more. It's more meaningful than the 31st of December. So it's an opportunity when Matariki rises for us to look to the stars, to reflect on the year that's just gone by, to reflect on those loved ones you've lost, to reset. Sometimes we get so busy in our own little worlds, like me, where you do need to kind of stop, take stock and go, right, Matai, what do you want to do next? You need a reset. And what goals have you got moving forward? We're going to send your wishes, your aspirations to Hinewehi Rangi. And then I think it's a time to reinvigorate. It's a time to get those energy levels up for the year ahead. So that's why I say it's the 3 R's: reflect, reset, and reinvigorate. So, it's an opportunity for us as Aotearoa, as a collective, not just the Māori thing. Yeah, it's the Māori New Year and it's Matariki, but Matariki is seen around the world. It's not just a New Zealand thing. It's not just, you don't have to be an Aotearoa to see the cluster of, Matariki. You can see it around the world. And we saw it in Wanaka on Friday when I was broadcasting from here. So that's probably my interpretation, my explanation for Matariki. It's a kaupapa that everyone can be a part of. It's not a Maori thing, because there was a little bit of that conversation back in the what's Matariki? Imagine the cost to the tax. I'm sounding like Australian, so it's not Australian.
Yeah, that was about Australian, but yeah.
Imagine the cost to the taxpayer. Are we paying for this? I just had a conversation with Dr. Rangi Mātamua. $600 million came into the economy as a result of Matariki. Not that it's about the money, but, all the naysayers, you're able to go back and go, well, actually, $600 million came into this out of this kaupapa for our economy. So it's got to be a good thing for us. So whilst it's a public holiday for us here in Aotearoa, for me, as I say, it's got a hell of a lot more meaning. And it just feels the wairua, like being in Wanaka on Friday. And there was a part where they do a hautapu ceremony where you're basically making offerings to the stars, and you can cook your kai and because we've got Waiti, Waita, Ururangi, all of these stars associated to our taiao, to our environment. And as we know, climate change and everything that's happening with our environment, it's also a time for us to think about an environment that we're living in at the moment. And what do we want to do now to contribute to a better environment, a better te taiao for our mokopuna, for our tamariki in the generations to come. So, as I say, it's meaningful, bro. It's not just like, I'm going to have a hangover tomorrow on the 1st of January. Those days are gone. So Matariki, I think, is a kaupapa that has been running for 3 years. I mean, some people see it as just a public holiday, but I see it as, it's a day to, spend time with your whānau, have a kai, go home. Last year's theme was Matariki Kainga Hokia, time for you to go home, reconnect, replenish, make those connections again.
Who makes these themes?
Well, I think that it's not a made-up theme. I think this is
no, but I mean, like who sits?
You mean the main themes? Yeah. Okay, sorry, motaka here. So Dr. Rangi Mātamua and the Ministry of Culture and Heritage, each year they sit together and they say, right, what's the theme this year? So this year's one in 2024 was Matariki Hiri Kai. So it's an opportunity to have a feast with your whānau, So it's been cool to see New Zealand, Aotearoa whānui, I'm talking about the greater New Zealand. There's always going to be the naysayers, but hopefully, the positives, not hopefully, I know the positives of this kaupapa already outweigh the naysayers and the negative response. And so 60% of, this is Eaikia Rangi Mātamua, the latest statistics he's got is that 60% of the country last year really brought into this kaupapa. They really got on board. So, I'm waiting for the statistics for this year, because I think as the years go by, our appreciation and our understanding of Matariki and the fact that it has more meaning than the 1st of January or the 31st of December, I know that that at some stage, we as a nation, as Aotearoa, we will be really, really proud to say that Matariki is our first worldwide Indigenous holiday that is making us so unique here in our country. And it's a kaupapa that everyone can be a part of. And hopefully, Rangi was talking to me about Tahiti are following in our footsteps. Next year, they're going to be in November. Tahiti are making their Matariki a national holiday. So there's an opportunity for, it's getting global. There's a global effect, I suppose, is what you would term it as. Other nations around the world, rather, are starting to come on board this kaupapa because they can see that it's one that everyone can relate to. And, different cultures will have different interpretations of their stars. And the kei te paitera, but the actual kind of overall kaupapa of Matariki being that star cluster that guides, that heals, that, that gives us hope and, hopes and aspirations for the future. I think it's got buy-in from many cultures around the world.
I think the key in that whole kōrero too is e hara te kaupapa Māori anaki. It's for, te katoa.
Oh, yeah, bro. Mā te katoa, tā tātou nei kaupapa o Matariki.
And I think that's like so important because, like, as someone who lives in another country, who lives in Australia, and you hear, but even growing up and you talk to people who are even Kiwis, they say, Pākehā and no Aotearoa, but then, they're like, oh, what is that? Like, I get, sort of, but for them to know that, that's for you too, cuz, it's for whānau, really, whanaungatanga and all that good stuff. So, no, thank you, Marcus.
Sweet. I just wanted to say, Shubz, me too. I was a kid, born in the 70s, raised in the 80s, and as I say, we didn't hear about Matariki. Our kids are so blessed now because there are so many publications, things online that you can, kids are learning songs about Matariki. They're talking to their parents about, oh, Papa, I ako nei au, I learned about Hinewehi Te Rangi today, and I learned about, Pohu Te Kawa, and this is Pākehā kids as well. Non-Māori kids are going to their kura and learning about it. So yeah, we're blessed and fortunate. And I just, as I say, I hope that, and I know actually, I'm ever the optimist. I know that as these years continue on, our deeper appreciation and understanding of Matariki will continue to grow.
And I think the kaupapa, because the kaupapa is what it is, as the years continue, those naysayers will become less and less, because you know what I mean, and all of that, and we'll open more eyes. So yeah, not too much. Another quick question.
Hey,
what if you could only eat one meal for the rest of your life? Every day you got to eat this kai. What do you choose?
Bro, it's hot chips.
That's it.
I'm a hot chips.
I'm lucky.
Just hot chips. I'm all about the hot chips.
What are you having on it?
Well, I suppose, if you're a Gizzy kid like I was, like I remember I was raised in Kaiti, London Street Dairy, scuba chips was $1.50 back in the day, right? $1.50. I know. In the 80s. And I remember I used to find $1.50 in the couch. Mum and Dad would, you'd find these coins on the couch and race down to the London Street fish shop and just get a scoop of chips. And I honestly, that for me, even to today, a scoop of chips. I mean, if you can get a white bread with butter, has to be butter, not margarine. Don't do margarine.
No,
margarine is that's blasphemy in my party. You will not find margarine in my house.
Right.
Butter, I know it's expensive, but I would rather starve than not have margarine. Butter and wadi sauce. I mean, you put that, if you've got another one to put on the top.
Yeah,
I mean, what's your uncle? That is just a party in your mouth. Hot chip
sandwich.
Bro, I mean, obviously it's a bit of carb overload, and if you're on a kaupapa like me sometimes, and you've got to watch your carbs, that's not a good one for the kaupapa. But if in answering your question, it would be hot chips, bro. I would have hot chips every day. You walk into the fish shop and you can smell the oil, and you can smell the aroma of hot chips. It just takes you to a happy place.
Give us superpower, Kazi. Besides the ones you already have, what would you choose out of the ones that exist in the old superpower? Or maybe even create one if you want to. And why would you choose the superpower?
I would probably like a superpower where I could just touch you and you'd be fluent in Te Reo Māori, and every word that you pronounce is correct. Every syllable, every nuance, we got to get over I mean, we're still hearing Taupo. You get on the planes here to New Zealand, it's like flight 415 to Taupo now boarding. So I would probably walk over to those attendants and those announcers and go, hey, here's my little superpower. Kua matatau koe Te Reo Māori, hika. I would like to think that, that would be my superpower, because of course that would contribute to, we're hoping to get 1 million. The audacious goal was to get 1 million of our people speaking Māori by 2040. So if I can help push that along.
Oh, you can do that easy, yeah.
Then we get rid of Taupo, Manukau, all of that. Yeah.
I like it, my cousin.
Some people say, oh, it won't be long, I'm going for teko. It's teko, Eroma.
Give us maybe they meant they're going to Te Teko, maybe, I don't know.
Well, they might be going to Te Teko for a teko.
Yeah, maybe.
Because they've got toilets at Te Teko.
Yeah, that's
sure,
right.
Te Teko will be absolutely elated that I have pointed out the fact that they have toilets. I may have stopped in Te Teko for a teko before, just quietly.
Shout out to Texas, man. Give us a piece of advice for anybody that wants to become a veteran broadcaster one day.
Oh, that word. Something I'm a veteran.
Oh, you gave it to me, cuz.
I know. I gave it to you off camera.
Oh, you should have said it's off camera.
I said to the bro, oh, yeah, I've been labelled a veteran broadcaster because he said to me, what do I call you? I said, oh, just broadcaster we do. But anyway, it is what it is.
I must have the Wi-Fi.
Must have been your glue air. Must have been kicking in. Your glue
yeah, definitely.
Bro, I would say that, I mean, obviously you heard my story. I was blessed with an opportunity from Hinewehi Mohi. But those that are really passionate about broadcasting, and I say this to my rangatahi announcers as well, is you got to do the hard yards. I've done the hard yards. Kua whakapau wera, kua heke te tōta, blood, sweat and tears. Don't think that it's all glamorous here in broadcasting. You kind of see people on TV and you think, wow, they have done the hard yards. They've done the hard mahi. As with any job, it's no different. Okay, yeah, it's different because you're in front of the nation and sometimes you're in front of the world. But with any role that you do in broadcasting, you've got to do the hard yards in order to kind of, get a little bit of success. So that's probably my koera waku kupuaki aki, whaia te kahurangi ki te tū o koe me he maunga teitei, o kia ururoatia. But the other thing is that do broadcasting because you want to. Don't do it because you have to. I've got some nieces and nephews that are like, oh, their mum and dad said, oh, you're going to go and be a reporter, and they didn't really want to be a reporter. And that can, you can't hide that on camera. So if you do have a passion for broadcasting, then, make sure you are surrounded by those people that I was lucky. I had experts around me, like the Judy Baileys, the Derek Woosters, the Moko Tinis, all of these people that I acknowledge in my early days of broadcasting have held me in good stead for today. And so, yeah, do the hard yards and then you'll reap the rewards, e hoama. And don't think that it's all going to be served to you on a plate. A lot of our kids, they get into broadcasting because they just want to be a star overnight. They want to be on TikTok. We didn't have TikTok back in my day, e hoama. Yeah, I'm quite glad we didn't have TikTok because then you would have seen, the thing about TikTok, it kind of stays there. It doesn't go away. So yeah, the koera pia waku kupu aki kia koutou e pirangi ana ki te whai oku tapu wai. Me upoko pakaru te karawhiu. Me upoko karawhiu. Me upoko, what did I just say? Me upoko pakaru te karawhiu. Yeah. Kia koe nei kua pakaru taku upoko I ngā kōrero I te rānei.
Because I just want to say, on top of that, you got the luck of having Hinewehi Mohi see you. You had the luck of the draw, Judy Bailey teaching you how to read that teleprompter. But again, I know if you didn't put in that mahi, cuz you wouldn't have got to where you are either. So that would be. So
and I think about, coming back home now, I'm giving back. I'm all about, as I say, veteran. Now I've got young rangatahi announcers, in the studio, and I am starting to kind of guide them. Sometimes I have to growl them, I got growlings, I made assumptions, and then my boss will go, who said do that? I was like, oh, me. It's like, no, you don't do that, you do this. So this is an opportunity for me to ko ngā takoha, kua riro iau I ngā tau, ana kei te takoha ati ki ngā rangatahi, ki ngā whakatipuranga o te rānei, o te wānei. So I love being home. All of this mātauranga that I've been able to, put into my kete mātauranga, I'm now starting to hand out to the future of broadcasting because, I'm 47 years young now. Hence, I'm a veteran broadcaster. I'm not saying that komuti te wāhanga kia. I'm not by no means am I saying I'm ready to hang up my shoes and retire. But it is just nice, bro, to be able to, while I can, give these kids, these hungry kids as well. Kei te pīkoko katoa rātou. They're hia kai ana ki ngā mātauranga e hāngai puana ki tēnei ao pāpāho. So that's me. I'm going to be giving these kids some treats. Do the mahi, get the treats. And the famous
that's it. Shout out to Willie. Last one then on that. 47 years of age. What does life like? Visualization. What does life look like in 10 years' time? 57 years of age for Matai Rangi Smith. What do you hope life looks like?
Bro, well, I hope to be retired and sitting in Papamoa on the big... No, I'm joking. I'm joking. What's a nice place, Papamoa? I think that, as I said to you, bro, I think I don't have a kind of a crystal ball, but I enjoy what I do. That's the thing about it, eh? That's probably the other thing about broadcasting is that you got to have a passion for it. So if you're going to get into it, be it a presenter, be it a reporter, be it an editor, have a passion for the mahi. I still have a great passion for broadcasting. Being home, yesterday I attended the tangihanga. We've just lost 3 fishermen as a result of a tragedy at sea. So yesterday, so one day I can be on Mount, what's that called? Treble Cone in Wanaka doing the national broadcast for Matariki. The next day I'm at a tangihanga helping with Turanga FM and helping the whānau with a live stream, capturing the images for the whānau. So, that's a kind of an indication of my world. And that world that I live in now at an iwi level and at a community level is what invigorates me. I've done a whole heap of shows, Homai Te Pakipaki, Good Morning, Pūkana, Te Matatini, but coming home, pakiaka ki te whenua. So this is real roots in the ground, my grassroots where I was, shaped and molded. It is so invigorating, reinvigorating me as a person. So, 10 years time, I'll probably still be here, bro. Probably still be doing the breakfast show, or I might be doing the night train because we have the Kaumātua hour at we have the Kaumātua on Saturday and Sunday nights where you can catch a bit of Kenny Rogers, Kenny Dale, and Kenny anyone. But I would say, bro, I'd still have my hand in broadcasting in 10 years' time because it is something that I absolutely love. It's something that that has been a huge part of my life over the last 28 years. And so may it long continue until such time as I do retire to not Papamoa, but somewhere around Gizzy, I'm sure. Probably Manituki, but not the Kaumātua flats, though.
I just want to say, Kazi, time's the most valuable commodity we have as human beings, Kazi. The one thing we can never get back. We can always get back money, things, but time spent is time lost. So thank you for sharing nearly 2 hours of your time. It was meant to be 45 minutes of your time with me. And anybody that listens to this for years to come, my Kazi, it's been an insightful journey. It's been an awesome kōrero, and I'm grateful that you've blessed me with the opportunity. As you said, if you don't ask, you don't get. And I'm glad you hooked it up, cuz. And yeah, hopefully this is not the last time we can catch up for some hot chips sometime. Yeah, bro. I'm sure the hot chips in Perth taste, well, probably not as good as Gizzy's one. Let's be clear. Yeah. Tēnā koe, Shubz, mō I pātai mai, I pinono mai, kia whai wāhi atu ai ki tō kaupapa. You and I were having this conversation off air, and you asked me, oh, bro, I did a search and I couldn't find you on any other podcasts. It's because you're the first one to ask, bro. So, nōku te whiwhi te waimari. So I'm very, very privileged. I'll use that cliche again, but hand on heart, I mean it. Privileged and honoured to be on your show, bro. So, ngā tini manaakitanga ki runga ki a koe. And if you're ever in Gizzy, we'll catch up for that hot chip sandwich. Oh, 100%, my cuz. Mea hau hoki, cuz. Pleasure's all mine, my man. Yeah. Ngā mihi. Kia ora heka. Thank you so much for watching this full episode of Mind the Mic. It takes a lot of time, energy, and effort to create these episodes. So to know that you've watched and listened to the entire thing means the world to myself and all our hosts. If you could, before you leave, please hit the subscribe button and share this episode out to as many people as possible. It would help us so much. Thank you again to everybody that's still here, still watching. Thank you for all your comments, all your shares, all the DMs. Appreciate you all. Make sure you follow us on every platform. Have an awesome morning. Have an awesome night, depending on where you are in the world. Mind the mic out. Oi, have you hit the link in bio yet? Watch full episodes on YouTube or listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all streaming platforms. Do it.